Hey, everybody. Welcome to another week here with Moving to Georgia. I am Sarah Maslowski, your North Metro Atlanta real estate agent. So excited to bring lots of great news to you today and answer all of your burning questions about making a move to Georgia or what is going on here in the real estate market. So, if you have any questions, please make sure that you drop them in the comments. We will make sure to answer your questions today as we are talking about Southern Living just named Gainesville and Alpharetta as one of the South's best cities on the rise. And we're going to dig into that. But first, I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you saying hello, answering your questions, and telling you that the spring market has sprung here in Georgia. And not only has the market sprung, but the weather is turning a great corner too. And it is absolutely gorgeous here in Georgia. So I'm curious how the weather is where you are. The groundhog came out, was it yesterday or today? I guess yesterday was the first day of spring. So I don't think I've really heard anything about what the groundhog did. So did it see its shadow or not? Um, Completely clueless about that. Yep, land of the peaches, peanuts, and Coke. So one of my favorite things is to introduce people that are not from Georgia to boiled peanuts. And this is very much a Southern thing, and it goes hand in hand perfectly with Coke, Coca-Cola, that is. Um, there's nothing better than a roadside boiled peanut stand. Like those are the best boiled peanuts that you can get. They have to come from a man. Usually it's like an old man in a pickup truck on the side of the road. And he's got like a big old gas propane tank attached to something that holds a big old pot. And there's boiled peanuts in there. They are so good. So the closest thing that I can tell you of what they taste like is kind of like edamame. If you go to a Japanese restaurant or a Chinese sushi and you order edamame and it's kind of salty and so a bowl of peanut though is much mushier than the peanut inside, a little bit saltier, and it's so good and it's really great on a summer day enjoyed with a Coke. So I am excited that it's bowl peanut season. If you see bowl peanuts at the gas station, those are terrible. Don't get those. You need to get them from either like a farmer's market or a roadside stand. Those are the best. And usually the bowl peanuts are like a happy surprise. You're just driving along and like, oh, someone's selling bowl peanuts, and you swerve and pull in and get them. Lone One said, it is sunny and warm in Virginia. Yeah, spring is my favorite. So I always think that fall is my favorite, but then, you go through winter and then the first few days of spring hits and the sun is feeling good and you're like, man, this feels so good. And you kind of forgot how great this time of year is. So spring and fall in Georgia are my absolute favorite because the weather is just so darn good. But we are about to be in like peak pollen season in Georgia over the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to make a point to take some pictures, video over the next few weeks and show you exactly what pollen season is like here in Georgia. We call it Georgia snow. So it's like you get like a fine coating of yellow dust over everything outside for a couple of weeks. And you can, literally like draw in it on your car. And that is the pollen from all of the pine trees, all of the flowers that are blooming. And it is really bad if you have allergies like I do. So I take an allergy medicine, Zyrtec, something like that, every single day. And usually that helps ward it off. But usually once a year, I'm like sneezing for a couple of days. And it's like, yep, pollen season is here. And on that note, one of the things that we often get asked questions on from the great clients that we get to help from out of state is you notice that whenever you go to buy a house here in Georgia, that most homes do not have window screens on the windows. And the reason for that is that there's usually only a handful of days throughout the year that you're going to want to have your windows open, not because the weather doesn't cooperate, but because of the pollen and the bugs. So you don't want your windows open because when it does feel really great to have your windows open where you don't necessarily need the AC, that's peak pollen season. And all of that pollen is going to come inside your house. So that's not good. And you got bugs and flies that fly around. Now, I will say North Georgia, completely different than South Georgia. So, North Georgia, the bugs are not as bad. In South Georgia, you're dealing with all kinds of bugs, mosquitoes, gnats. If you're over on the coast of Georgia, you're dealing with biting gnats. I didn't even know that was a thing until I moved to the coast of Georgia. And all of a sudden, like you feel these bugs biting you, but you can't see them. They really call them no-see-ums because you can't see them, but they bite and they're miserable. So just know that. So thankfully, we don't have to deal with that up here in North Georgia area. I just love it's warm and the trees start to bud like the dogwoods. Yes, dogwoods are blooming right now. Azaleas are starting to get really, really pretty flowers on them. So I was scrolling through Facebook, like I'm sure you do as well, and I saw this meme that was posted and thought this was really funny. I need to share it with y'all. So it says, for anyone thinking about moving to Atlanta, here's a helpful map of Georgia. And you see that Atlanta on this map is where Macon normally is. They have North Atlanta placed over in kind of like the Augusta area. East Atlanta is all the way over. I don't even know what's in that part of the Georgia. Nothing is over there. Then you got Statesboro and Savannah and Valdosta, Albany, and Columbus. So the thing that struck me as very funny about this map is that locals here will say, don't tell people to move to Georgia, we're full. Or if we're going to tell people to move to Georgia, they're wanting to tell y'all that Atlanta is where Macon is. So I also saw something that came out that said Macon was one of the most affordable cities in Georgia. And it is more affordable, or pretty affordable, but there's a reason that it's very affordable. It's affordable because the jobs there, not that good. The economy there, not that good. Things to do, shopping, not that good. So the places where things are good, it costs a little bit more to live there, unfortunately, and that's just how things are. So I'm curious, if you're thinking about making a move here to Georgia, let me know what you kind of think about this and how people have reacted to maybe your news that you want to move to Georgia. I was talking to a client yesterday, and she told me she lives in the Chicago suburbs, and she was telling her friends and family members that they want to move to Georgia. And they were like, why Georgia? Why would you want to move there? And she was like, why not? Like, have you not been there? And that kind of was interesting to me. I was like, oh yeah, like if you haven't been to North Georgia, North Metro Atlanta area, you don't really know how good things are. Because I think when you conjure up an image of Georgia in your mind, you're just thinking like farmland, hot, flat. And that is definitely South Georgia, but that's definitely not North Georgia. So if you're just joining us on the live stream, we are going to dig in today and talk about Southern Living just named 2 Metro Atlanta cities, up and coming rising cities. But I would love for you to drop in the comments where you're watching from, say hello. And of course, if you have any questions about the housing market, let me know. And I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about this map here. I think it's kind of funny, but also, not funny. But no, I'm going to take you to the real Metro Atlanta, not down in Macon. Oops. Okay. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. Sorry, hit the wrong button here on the back end. So if you're just joining us, Sarah Maslowski, I am a real estate agent here in the Metro Atlanta area, help people all the time relocate here to Georgia. So if you have any questions or comments or thoughts about making a move or the real estate market or anything in general, let me know. Let's talk about it. And I also want to tell you all about what Southern Living just named, when I was surprised that the city that I live in made this list. Lone one. Who's moving to Albany, Georgia? There's not a whole lot in Albany, Georgia. So I will say there are some good things about South Georgia. I used to live in Valdosta, grew up there. Thomasville is a gorgeous southern town, but it's good for like a day trip and to have lunch and look around, and that's about it. Well, I say that if you want to live like in a cute, charming, small southern town, Thomasville is very quintessential South Georgia, and you're only an hour away from Tallahassee. So, if you need like some city stuff, you can go to Tallahassee, but Tallahassee isn't all that cityfied either. So, Anyways, I digress. Um, Carl's joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for watching, Carl. I appreciate it. Okay, so let me share with you breaking news. Uh, the South's best cities on the rise, named by Southern Living magazine. Don't y'all just hate these ads that pop up on websites? So the South's best cities on the rise, 2024, two Metro Atlanta cities made this list. You already know it because it's in the title of today's live stream. But just to kind of share with you some other cities that made this list, Dover, Delaware made the list. And I was like, Delaware is not in the South. Would you agree or disagree? I mean, that's clearly above the Mason-Dixon line, and that's in the North. So we're not going to count Dover. Edmond, Oklahoma. I don't really consider Oklahoma part of the South, but I guess technically it is. Reston, Virginia made the list. Lone one is in Virginia. Lake Charles, Louisiana. Northport, Florida. Morgantown, West Virginia. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Clarksville, Tennessee. Gainesville, Georgia. So this is where I live, and I cover a lot about Gainesville here on the channel. And I definitely agree with them naming this as one of the cities that are on the rise in the South, because Gainesville over the past couple of years, even I have been surprised at how much Gainesville has grown for the better. And I'm not talking about huge developments or tons of big box stores coming into our town, but downtown Gainesville. And if you go click on this, it's a little bit upset. They didn't really dive into how much downtown Gainesville has gotten so good. And it's gotten so good because there's been a lot of restaurants that have opened. They've made downtown a lot more walkable, a lot more easy to get to and find parking. Two new parking garages. There is a gorgeous Courtyard Marriott that just opened with a great rooftop, kind of like a really high end, or feels like an upscale Courtyard Marriott. It's not your traditional Courtyard Marriott. They've got some great downtown apartments now right there connected to the Marriott in a high rise called the National. Lots of great coffee shops and pizza places and breweries that have opened up. And you just see locals enjoying and out and about in downtown Gainesville all the time. So it used to be that you would only see people in downtown Gainesville on the square if it was an event, right? So this Saturday, they have Mutts on Main coming up. It's a dog festival. Bring your dogs, and they got pet vendors and stuff like that. And it's really fun because the weather is now really good and it's a great way to enjoy. Uh, but you used to really only see a lot of people in downtown Gainesville for something like this. Now, every single day, you can go to downtown Gainesville and you're going to see a lot of people enjoying downtown Gainesville, sitting outside on the patios of restaurants, having a drink, having a picnic right there on the square. There's a great brewery there that you can pick up a drink and walk around with it. I mean, there's just so much great things to enjoy, cute little boutiques, art exhibits, a lot to enjoy. Carl, what a great question. You ask, what's the average cost of a home in Gainesville? And what you know, I have that pulled up for you to share. So let me hop on over there to this slide, and here we go. So this, let's get to the average sales price. So the average sales price for a house right now in Gainesville at the end of February was $380,000. Now this is up 5.5, 6% compared to last year, and this time last year. And so you'll see Gainesville's down here in the yellow, and we've had kind of like steady growth in home prices, not like astronomical spikes over the past year, which is great because it's becoming a little bit more affordable. And you can find some really great options in the Gainesville area. Now, if we compare this to Alpharetta, which is another one of the cities on the rise, which I would say it's been on the rise, or it's risen, it's there. It's continuing to rise over the past 5 years, I would say. Alpharetta is much more expensive. So you'll see here that the average price of a home in Alpharetta is $620,000. Now, again, this is, well, that's the median. Let's look at the average. Let's hop over there. Okay. So the average changes the number slightly, right? So average in Gainesville is 430. I will say that in order to get a home that's decent, that's move-in ready, or you don't have to do a whole lot of work in Gainesville, you're definitely looking between at least 350 to 400. Once you go a little bit over 400, you have tons of options. Alpharetta, the average sales price is 716,000. That is very accurate. You anything kind of under 700 in Alpharetta, it's going to be very much a small fixer upper or something that's going to need a lot of cosmetic work. So you have really, really great options. If we take a look at new listings in Gainesville and Alpharetta, let me take off this entire FMLS area. Great thing is that inventory is increasing in the Metro Atlanta area. Spring is springing. We are seeing a lot of houses come on the market, which is great. This is kind of returning back to a normal spring market, which is what we want to see. We're finally getting some more normality in the real estate market. So inventory is up. However, it's still not enough to meet the demand of how many buyers we have out there. So what we're seeing is days on the market. If we take a look at that data, it's down. So that means homes are selling faster. And this is usually what we see this time of year is that more homes come on the market, and it's the best time to sell your house as a seller because it's going to sell more quickly because there's more buyers in the marketplace. So that is something to keep in mind. So I love that Gainesville is more affordable. You really have a lot that you can take advantage of here in Gainesville. So if you have any questions about um, making a move here, let me know. But I'm going to go back and kind of share some more things about why Gainesville is so great. So share with you some of the things about, we have a really great downtown area and that's really growing. But there's a lot of other great stuff about Gainesville. So one of the things that I really love about Gainesville, and with Alpharetta, you're close to Lake Lanier as well, but Gainesville is really on the lake. So you've got lots of lakeside parks and activities and fishing and all the things that you can take advantage of being right here next to Gainesville. So there's so much to do outdoors. This is a really cool mural that is downtown Gainesville. So that's kind of famous. There's also a Coca-Cola mural in downtown Gainesville. So obviously you can take advantage of the lake. What you're seeing here is Gainesville was the site of the Olympic venue when Atlanta hosted the Olympics in 1996. So the rowing venue for the Olympics is in Gainesville. They've since revitalized and just recently went through a huge renovation on that facility there and turned it into a nice rowing venue. So they attract collegiate competitions for rowing all throughout the year here in the Gainesville area. So it's really fun to watch. But also they have a dragon boat festival every single year on the lake, and it's like a fundraiser competition. But you get to see these really cool rowing dragon boats, and there's food trucks and all kinds of stuff that happens here right there on the lake, and it's just a really, really fun festival. You've got lots of opportunities to take advantage of nature. There is a nature science center here in Gainesville. You're also right at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So you can actually see from some parts in Gainesville, the Blue Ridge Mountains in the background. Absolutely beautiful. You can go on so many great hikes, not only here locally, but if you really want kind of like a little bit of a mountain hike, you can be there within 45 minutes, driving north to lots and lots of different hiking trails with beautiful waterfalls that you can take advantage of. So that's one of the things that I really love about living in this area. We also have the Atlanta Botanical Garden. Now, it's not the huge Atlanta Botanical Garden, but they do have like a satellite garden here in Gainesville that is really big. So they often have concerts and events and kind of like an amphitheater that they have here. But you can wander through the garden center and really take advantage of seeing all the beautiful flowers and foliage that we have here. while, having a great coffee or a beverage of your choice. Um, so Gainesville truly is a really, really great place with lots of things to do. And it's still relatively affordable. And if you're looking for new construction options, there is a ton of new construction options here around Gainesville. Brazelton, Houston is also really nearby, Flowery Branch, excellent healthcare system here too. Um, in Gainesville, Northeast Georgia Health System is one of the largest um, employers here in Gainesville, and it's actually what originally brought my husband and I to the Gainesville area. He used to work for the healthcare system, and that's how we ended up here in Gainesville. Now, when we first moved to Gainesville, I think this is funny because this happened to a client recently. We drove down a street that it's not the prettiest, right? And there's some like rundown businesses and rundown looking things, and it just was not a good first impression. And I remember like looking over to my husband, being like, "Where are we moving? Like this is not what I had in mind." Um, and then once you get off that road, you don't have to go down that road, but um, uh, you get to like the better part of town. You're like, oh, this is so charming. This is what Gainesville is. I see the mountains. Okay, yes, I'm sold. I want to be here. Well, I had a client recently whose husband's coming here for a job, and she came for her first visit, and she went down that exact same road, and she had the exact same reaction that I did. So I thought that was funny that I too had that reaction. Um, Carl asked, "Are you seeing a lot of new builds in Gainesville non-townhouses?" Um, yes, if you wanna be, like, in Gainesville city proper, which there's not a whole lot of land left to develop here, and there's really not a need to be like in Gainesville city limits, but most of that's going to be townhomes. But yes, all around Gainesville, tons of new construction developments, a lot kind of over to the east towards Brazelton, Houston, north part of Gainesville is really growing a lot. So there is a development that is happening, a lot of major development happening just off of 985 in Gainesville, kind of like in the north part of Gainesville. Publix grocery market is being built right now. A huge, massive Kroger is already there and tons of restaurants. That area has just drastically exploded. There's a really cool restaurant there, King's Hawaiian Bread. Do you know that company? So they have a manufacturing facility bakery here in Gainesville, but they opened up a flagship restaurant called Hello Hilo, and they offer or make food, and they serve it on their great King's Hawaiian bread, but it's like Hawaiian themed dishes. So it's like a fast casual restaurant. So that's really cool. That's in that area. And then you also have a couple of really great restaurants that are coming up. Tupelo Honey is opening up a restaurant here in Gainesville, which, if you're familiar, they have a restaurant in Asheville and they have a couple of other locations. I think there's one in Charleston, maybe. Really, really great restaurant that is opening up. So excited about that. So a lot of cool things happening there, which will make living in that part of Gainesville really good and convenient because you're so close to all those things, whereas that really hasn't been there over the past couple of years. All right, so a lot in Gainesville. The economy is really great. There's lots of jobs happening in the area. You really can't go wrong if you're thinking about making a move to the North Metro Atlanta area and you want to kind of consider something that's still a little bit small, but doesn't feel totally overwhelming, but you're not like in a super small town. So that is definitely a town that you want to keep in mind. A new Pam asks your thoughts on Buford versus Snellville. Um, Totally different, right? So Buford is going to feel way more developed, in my opinion, and newer. You're going to see more newer developments, newer style neighborhoods. Snellville, because it's closer into Atlanta, is definitely older, more established. When I say more established, just all the buildings and infrastructure and neighborhoods have been there for a really, really long time. So you're going to see a lot more older homes, and that's just something that you have to know, kind of comparing the two. Whereas Buford, even though it's very established and very built out, you still have a lot of growth and development still happening in Buford. The Mall of Georgia is in Buford as well. They just built, it's been open now for about a year or two, a Top Golf in Buford. The Braves have their minor league baseball team in Buford called the Gwinnett Stripers. Stripers is a fish on Lake Lanier. They used to be called the Gwinnett Braves. That was so much better, right? That's a story for another day. But that's right there in Buford. So a little bit more, in my opinion, to do in Buford, and you're right there also at the foot of Lake Lanier. Whereas Snellville, although you're a little bit closer into Atlanta or near Atlanta, it's a little bit more of an older town. So affordability wise, I would say that you might be able to find a little bit more affordable homes in Snellville, but that's just because you have a lot of older houses that people haven't really renovated, and you have a little bit more older neighborhoods where you have more variety. Whereas Gainesville is going to be not Gainesville, Buford is going to be a little bit more newer, if I could say that. So definitely some drastic differences. And I always recommend for clients to drive around and experience those different areas to kind of see what you like, because you'll definitely get more of a feel of which direction you're more drawn to. Great question, though. Thanks for asking that and joining us here. So if you have any questions while we're talking today about making a move to Georgia or what's going on in the market, any questions at all, comments, thoughts, let me know. I would be happy to answer. A lone one said, sold on Georgia if you'd be a peach and whip up your best pecan pie with bourbon in it. I do have a good pecan pie recipe, and I'm in charge of pecan pies at Thanksgiving. So it's so good and so easy to make a great pecan pie. But I think pecan pie is like more, it is a Southern thing, right? but you see more places serving pecan pie, kind of like down in South Georgia. But it's a thing. Southern Baked Pie Company is based in Gainesville, and they've been on Oprah, the Today Show. They make a great pecan pie, also a great chicken pot pie. You can go and walk off of, they're just off of the Gainesville Square in downtown, and you can get a slice of pie or a whole pie. Now, they're not cheap, let me tell you. So it's like $40 for a pie. But I guess that's the going rate now for homemade goods, right? So I say homemade professionally, well done, good ingredients. Food cost is expensive right now. Hey, Robert, I'm happy you are here joining us. Thanks for joining us here on the live stream. Let me know if you have any questions. We're answering and talking about Gainesville and Alpharetta. Those are two of the cities that were named Southern Living's South's. Did I write that right? Southern Living names the South cities on the rise. It's the best cities in the South that are on the rise. That's a mouthful. So we've been talking about Gainesville. Let's dig into Alpharetta. So this one, they named it a city on the rise, but I feel like Alpharetta has already been on the rise. It's risen. It's here. It is one of the most popular cities that that we get phone calls about and help clients consider making a move to. And this town is definitely very appealing, but it is much busier than Gainesville. Traffic, size, amount of restaurants, stores, everything you can think of is pretty much in Alpharetta. It is just south of Cumming, which is also a very popular city. Now, the reason, in my opinion, and I'm sure others would agree with this, that Cumming has gotten so expensive or popular rather, is because Alpharetta has gotten so expensive. And so you can go up to Cumming. It's just right up the interstate there on Georgia 400. Be helpful if I had a map to show y'all, right? So let's open this up and I'm going to kind of show you where we're talking about here. So here is Alpharetta. We're going to zoom out a little bit. So Alpharetta, north of Atlanta, and then you've got Cumming, which is just up Georgia 400. So Alpharetta has a lot of tech jobs. And it's actually been named the tech hub of the South. And so you have a lot of technology employers in Alpharetta. But like we mentioned earlier, the town of Alpharetta, the housing costs here have gotten quite expensive. So if we go look at the average sales price of a home in Alpharetta last month in February of 2024, 715,000. Now that's just the average. That means there's been a lot more sales higher than 715,000, and there's also been a lot lower. But when you're looking at a sales price lower than 700 in Alpharetta, likely it's going to be a home that needs a lot of cosmetic work. It's going to be older, and that might be great. You might be okay with that. I would certainly be okay with building all of that great equity by taking one of those houses and fixing them up and putting some love into it so that when you do go to sell it, you're going to have one of the best houses in the neighborhood that you can capitalize on. But it is not for the faint of heart when it comes to home prices. So another great thing that Alpharetta has going for it is really, really great schools. So almost all the schools there, if someone tells me that did I not have that shown? No, I did not, y'all. I'm over here talking and no one's letting me know. I guess y'all can't talk back to me. Here's the graph that I was talking about that I thought was being shown on the screen. So this is something just to keep in mind is that it's going to cost more to live in Alpharetta. The reason it's cost more because you're closer into Atlanta. You have more jobs there. You have really great schools there. And so whenever someone reaches out to me and they tell me that they want to live in Alpharetta and they want to be in a good school district, it's like, okay, that's an easy problem to solve because anywhere you look in Alpharetta is going to be in a highly rated school district. So that part is easy, but it makes the home prices there way more than some of the other nearby towns that you're going to see. Now, I mentioned that Cumming has become popular, and it's because the trade-offs there are not that drastic. So schools in Forsyth County, which is where Cumming is located, are very highly rated as well. So usually there's not much of a trade-off there. You can get more house for your money in Cumming because there's a lot more new construction there. There's a lot more land that still needs to be developed or can be developed. So the home prices there are a little bit less expensive. And you're just a 15, 20-minute drive into Alpharetta. Now, the trade-offs are you're not going to have as much shopping, as much restaurants, and kind of like the density that you have in Alpharetta. You also have some really amazing parks in Alpharetta as well. But one of the trade-offs is it costs more. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're thinking about making a move here. And I work with a lot of clients who initially reach out to me and say, hey, we want to be in Alpharetta. We talk about their budget. We come up with a great strategy and kind of talk through that. And we say, okay, why do you want to be in Alpharetta? And usually it's because they want to take advantage of the great restaurants and the great shopping and the parks. But then when we really talk about, okay, how often are you actually going to go do that? You're probably going to do that on the weekends, maybe 1 or 2 times a month. Well, is it worth just driving 15, 20 minutes in your car to take advantage of that, but have more house and still have good schools? And oftentimes the answer is yes. And we can find exactly what they're looking for in a house and kind of put all those puzzle pieces together and still have them in close proximity to Alpharetta. Carl asks, what is the home tax rate in Gainesville? This is a great question. So the effective tax rate in Gainesville is about 1% of the purchase price. So 1.09 is the average property tax rate of a house in Gainesville. Alpharetta is going to be much more, like 1.4, 1.5. And the reason is that Alpharetta is located in Fulton County. And if you've ever seen a map of the counties of Georgia, or especially Fulton County, it's very oddly shaped. So you got Alpharetta at the top and it's kind of comes in narrow and then it gets wider again. So Fulton also encompasses a lot of inner city Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. So it's a weird county, but they do have a higher tax basis there. So there's a tiny portion of Alpharetta that is in Cumming, which is, or not Cumming, it's in Forsyth County. Forsyth County has a great tax rate. It's 0.89%. on average of your sales price or of the valuation of your home. That's the effective tax rate there. But those home prices comparatively from coming to Gainesville is going to be more expensive. Another thing that I help a lot of clients with is kind of figuring out if you're near retirement age, it's a great thing to kind of take into consideration as you're thinking about where to buy a house because different counties have different rules of exemptions that you can qualify for whenever you reach a certain age. So Forsyth County and Cumming and Hall County in Gainesville have some of the best property tax breaks for seniors. When you reach a certain age, usually 68 or 70, you're exempt from all of the school portion of the property tax bill. And that school portion makes up 50 to 60% of your property tax bill. So that completely gets wiped away when you're reach that age. There's also partial exemptions that you can qualify for starting at age 62 in a lot of counties. But not every county offers this. So it's definitely one of the more least expensive places to live, especially if you are a retiree and kind of considering lots of different communities and places that you want to be. Yeah, Lone One says, if I could afford to live in Alpharetta, you would, oh, no, I'll be honest. Even if I could afford to live in Alpharetta, I would look at other areas that are still solid. Yeah, I mean, Alpharetta is just like, for me personally, it's one of those places where I love to go visit, hang out, go shopping, eat at some good restaurants, but I don't want to be in that hustle and bustle every single day because you are going to experience more traffic, things like that. So let's look at some of the things that Southern Living highlighted as why they feel Alpharetta is so great. So when it comes to things to do in Alpharetta, there's still lots of things that you can do outdoors. They have the Big Creek Greenway, and that is a huge path. It's about 9 miles long, and they're constantly making it longer. But this is very, very heavily traveled and taken advantage of by locals, where you can walk your dog, ride your bike, run. It's really, really great. And Alfred has some really great parks too, with lots of things to do. Willis Park in Alpharetta is a huge park, and there's stables there. There's horses and baseball fields and disc golf and a pool and all kinds of great stuff. Lots of art in Alpharetta as well. It's really known for their great outdoor shopping center called Avalon. You've got everything there from Tesla, Chanel, J. Crew, Gap, and tons of great restaurants that are there. It's all outdoors, walkable. It's really fun just to go people watch, and lots of families bring their kids there because there's lots of kids activities to do as well. It's just a fun place to spend the day if you like to be around that. No, my husband, not so much. I have to like drag him to something like this, but that's not his cup of tea, but it is my cup of tea. So it's really fun to go there. Farmers market, they've got a great city center, lots and lots of great restaurants and stuff like that to do or to eat at in Alpharetta. So great neighborhoods. Shoot, y'all, I wasn't sharing it again. I'm sorry. Anyways, okay. But there is a lot of great things in Alpharetta. Yeah, so that is something that you should consider if you're thinking about making a move to anywhere in Georgia. I would really love to connect you with a really great agent if it's not an area that I serve personally, because I want to make sure that you're in really great hands. Jane asks, which metro city has the most to do, especially in town, not including Atlanta? Okay, so here's the thing about things to do. One of the things that I personally discovered whenever we moved here 9, almost 10 years ago is that if you live in the North Metro Atlanta area, you are so close to so many other towns that there's always something that you can go do. So for example, I live here in Gainesville. We can drive 45 minutes north and go on some amazing hikes, go to some like really cool small mountain towns. We can drive an hour east and check out Athens, Georgia, which is a really cool college town with really amazing restaurants and a really cute downtown. And then also In Gainesville, we're so close to Cumming and Flowery Branch and Brazelton and Beaufort and Lawrenceville, and Swanee, and even driving into Atlanta. There's just always something to do. There's some sort of convention or a festival or concert or, band someplace that's playing nearby, or some cool thing that just opened up that you would want to go check out. So I feel like even though there's like a ton to do in Alpharetta, you don't have to live in Alpharetta to take advantage of all of that great stuff. You can pretty much live anywhere in North Metro Atlanta area and have lots to do at your fingertips all the time. Now, I will say that this is different than South Atlanta. So we've got a video coming up here on the channel where we feature Peachtree City, which is a very charming town south of Atlanta. It is a master planned community when it was designed to be interconnected with golf cart trails. So that town, you can get to the grocery store, you can go to school, post office, restaurants on your golf cart. Very, very, very charming. And it's really great, but it's really the only thing that's around there is just the cute town. If you want, after you get kind of bored of being in your town and you want to change the scenery, you're going to have to drive a little bit to go into the next town or the next area where you have things to do. And so for me, it reminded me a lot of kind of like South Georgia. When we lived in Valdosta, if we wanted to go shopping, we had to get in the car and drive either an hour to Tallahassee in Florida or 2 hours to Jacksonville to get to the next biggest place that had actual shopping. That's kind of how it is down there. So it reminded me a lot of that. Can you do a video of your favorite places in Georgia? And then you said mostly, so about restaurants or just favorite places? Because I could do both. And if you haven't, you can't tell, I love to eat. So a lot of my favorite things to do usually revolve around eating, like, oh, where can we go? And then we can go to this restaurant because they have the best this. So yeah, I can do that though, but elaborate and let me know what you want to see. Both. Yes, I can do both. That's a great idea for a video. Lone One says the Georgia coast is underrated. I would agree with you. So before we moved here to Gainesville, we actually lived in Brunswick, Georgia. So my husband used to work at that hospital, and Brunswick itself, it's gotten a lot better. But Brunswick is not a pretty town. It's an old mill town. So there's like paper mills there. And sometimes when the paper mills were running, it would kind of stink. I don't know, I guess the byproduct of whatever chemicals or stuff that they use. And that's kind of like the first thing that you see when you come into the city. So you've got this beautiful marsh, but then you've got a paper mill, and stuff into the air. So the town itself, it wasn't that pretty. It's gotten a lot better, just like Gainesville has. But the coast there in Georgia is absolutely beautiful. And you're also right next to St. Simons and Jekyll Island. So just like you can drive 30 minutes from Gainesville to Beaufort, you can drive 30 minutes from Brunswick over to St. Simons and take advantage of the beaches and all the great restaurants. And if you're ever down going towards Brunswick, there's a little tiny town north of Brunswick, right there on the coast, called Darien, Georgia. It's very small, like blink and you'll miss it. There is a fantastic seafood restaurant there called Skipper's. It is fantastic. So there's amazing seafood there. So fresh, so good. It's kind of funny. Here in Gainesville, there's a seafood restaurant that everyone thinks is so great. And they're like, oh, that's just the best place for seafood. It's terrible. My husband and I just think it's like the worst place. Like, it's not that good. And then it's sad. It's like, oh, if that's what you think good seafood is, y'all are missing out. So anyways, but go to Skipper's if you're ever near that way. All right. I cannot wait to meet you, Jane. So I appreciate you watching and reaching out and using me to help you buy your home here in the Metro Atlanta area. So if you're thinking about making a move and you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. That just helps you get notified of every time that we drop a new video or we go live here on the live stream, which is the first and third Wednesday of every single month. And then we drop a new video every single Monday. I believe the next one coming up is about all the great new construction retirement communities that have been popping up. And let me tell y'all, we've got some great retirement communities in the metro Atlanta area. I personally can't wait till I can take advantage of being in one of those, because every time I go in it and I see all the people that live there taking advantage and having fun with the clubs and the things that they're doing, it's like, man, I want to do this. Um, and I guess it also doesn't help that they're retired, right? Um, it would be nice to retire, but I don't know. I don't know if I could ever completely retire. Lone one, have I ever been to Six Flags? Yes, it has been since I was like a teenager. Um, but Six Flags is fun. That's kind of like over in Cobb County in Marietta. Great little theme park, take advantage of. In Atlanta, you've got the aquarium, all kinds of stuff to do. And yeah, so that is definitely fun. So there's no shortage of fun things to do here around Metro Atlanta. Lots of cool little day trips that you can make and do. So yes. All right. Well, if you're thinking about making a move, please don't forget to reach out to me. There is a pinned comment down below where you can reach out directly and we can schedule a call and talk about your move. Carl, is Brookhaven on the rise? I'm seeing a lot of new construction videos. So Brookhaven, that's a good question. I'll have to kind of look into that a little bit more, because Brookhaven is more like in the city of Atlanta, and that's a little bit of a mixed bag there, right? So some parts are good and some parts are kind of like in transitional phases. So you can, might be an early adopter of living there, but you might have to deal with a little bit of sketchiness sometimes. Jane asked, is it safe to go into Atlanta? So listen, you're going to hear good, bad, and ugly about Atlanta. However, most all of the places that you would go to for sporting events, concerts, things like that, completely safe. There's great presence there when it comes to safety and things sought out. Now, there's also, just like any other big metro city, there's parts of that city that probably aren't safe, but you likely would not be going there to those areas anyways, right? And so I often get this question from clients about thinking about moving to a specific area and looking at statistics, but then saying, oh, is this area safe? And I always kind of drive them back to the fact of, where are they developing? Where are businesses spending money? Where are new schools going up? Where are they putting new construction neighborhoods? Developers and people would not be spending all of this money in these areas if they wouldn't be able to attract the customer base that they needed or sell these homes. So they're not going to invest all of that money in areas where it is not, safe to be. So, y'all, thank you so, so much for joining me tonight. I forgot to, I have tons of videos about making a move here to Alpharetta and Gainesville. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper into any of these areas that I've talked about, I'm going to put the playlist there down below where you can see that of kind of like videos on Gainesville and Alpharetta. Now, there's also tons of other videos about all kinds of places in the metro Atlanta area. So if you can think of a place, I've probably made a video on it. And if I haven't, please let me know, because I love to get great ideas from you great viewers and clients that I get to help about what type of content you want to see and what videos we can make. So all my best ideas come from y'all. So I appreciate that. Thank you so, so much for joining me tonight. If there's something I didn't answer and you would love to talk, connect with me. I love talking to clients and helping you. That's what I'm here for. It's my job. So thank you so, so much. And I will see y'all on the next live. And I'll see you this Monday for our new video talking about all the great retirement communities that are coming here to the metro Atlanta area. So I will see y'all very, very soon.